Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Lee.
Present?
Councilmember Price is currently absent. Councilmember McOsker is currently absent. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Here.
And Councilmember Park.
Present.
3 members and a quorum.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. We will begin with public comment. Those that wish to speak can come to the podium. When we call your name, you'll have 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute each for items on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes. Please let us know if you'd like to do public comment at the time when you let us know which items you're speaking on. Okay, Ms. Yeager, can you please call the first name?
First speaker is Jonathan Williams. You'll have 2 minutes for the items and 1 minute for comment.
Yes. So again, number 7, CD9. If he could have done it, the late Curran Price would have wanted number 7 to go through in his district. Medical services from the LA Police Department. It's Curran Price. It was his dream to have people that are beat up in custody get immediate medical care. So again, I hope they have it. And then, of course, you got other shit on this agenda, which we will go over here. Number 1, copper wire theft. All you got to do is set up some fucking cameras on the 6th Street Bridge and catch motherfuckers when they steal all our copper. But you see, it's all Tracy Irene Beach Park's fault that this cannot be done because she's sleeping all the time. Look at that little sleepy. I can hardly stand awake. That's right. Always on the job asleep. Now we get to another one regarding the metal and wire theft reward program. How much you gonna pay? When I sit there and I do a high-speed chase in my fucking Subaru down the freeway with a bunch of fools that just stole all your copper, you ain't gonna give me $500, are you? I need thousands of dollars. And then I catch all these motherfuckers and put them into custody over there on Temple and Los Angeles Street. And then we got the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Award. Fuck any of these Memorial Justice Awards. We don't want justice. We don't want anything from you motherfuckers. And then the Board of Police Commission is a $50,000 bribe for the purchase of equipment lockers. So now we get the general comment.
Public comment?
Dirty motherfuckers allow Southers, that motherfucker, to get a 4-year fucking term when he's against a racist against Muslims by fucking John Lee Stafford B giving a continuance. When you gave a continuance, it exceeded the charter's 45-day jurisdiction, which means it was automatically approved. The LA Times wrote about it and they said, fuck you. So now Curran Price is sick. He passed out. But the good news, even though he fell on the floor, Tracy Park went right ahead with her convention center proviso, because you would have allowed Curran Price to drop dead on the floor and you just would have kept going and talking about your convention center. You see what you did? You killed the guy. You guys are
Please keep your items to
bunch
the
of goddamn
subject of this
murder.
committee.
You're killing Curran Price. Make
right,
him
thank
plead
you.
guilty. He's a motherfucker.
Next speaker, Juan Munoz. Laura FM. OJ Simpson.
Hello.
Your name, please?
Laura FM. I'm also a rocker, singer. My band is Laura FM, but I also protest
You'll
the
have 1
cult of
minute.
Scientology because I was born and raised in it. What we're here for specifically is about the sidewalks, their control of the environment, the blue buildings, the elderly and the young, the regular looking, aged indentured slaves that are only getting $47 a week to work on public city sidewalks after a bunch of us had come multiple times to have them to stop the slave work, right? But then we also came in saying they're trying to get us to stop protesting by not fixing the sidewalks and having all the correct tools and all that. Then who's fixing the sidewalks? These $47 a week paid indentured slaves that work that I signed. I too myself used to do this work as a child. I signed a billion-year contract. So what I'm saying is there's so many there's little infiltrations of the city that Scientology has infiltrated where they think they can get away with this on as their normal behavior. And for the board to
thank you,
be aware
Speaker.
of the tactics they're pulling, please.
Thank you, Speaker.
Oh, sorry. I have a book here as part of my public comment. I told you guys I was going to bring it. Can I?
You can hand it to one of the officers.
Sergeants. Next speaker is Audit LA. Signed up for general comment.
No, it's not for everything.
You have only signed up for general comment. You'll have 3 minutes.
Which items? Can you say which items?
Yes. No, 4. You need one more. Okay. Okay. Let me start with the. You know what? Just let me have public comment. I'm too scattered. I have paperwork that I'm going to be giving you too, because I'm here to complain about the Faith in Blue event coming up. Which Scientology it's all Scientology, even though they moved it to a different church. And I have no problem with the actual event. I have a problem is we've been coming to the city about all the abuses that Scientology is doing. We all know it. We know, and you know, Mr. Hugo, we all know the issues and the problems. And they're not going to let me in on this thing, even though it's a public event. But I have papers I want to turn in for you guys to read, so you guys can start educating yourself why we're so why we're resistant to the abuses of what Scientology is doing in our community. Okay, and I don't know. I guess you'll turn it in. So I'm asking you to ask LAPD to separate itself until you can have all these things adjudicated. And you know, like we have, it's really distracting when you can't let, you know, when you're the chair won't even acknowledge you or look at you or anything. And you still owe me that apology, Mr. Lee. I'm going to say it loud and proud. But I'm going to turn this stuff in. You know, you got to stop having.
Thank you, Speaker.
Scientology.
Next speaker, Valerie Berkeley. You'll have 2 minutes for the item.
Speaking first on item 1. Good afternoon. My name is Valerie Berkeley, Senior Public Policy Manager for the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, the largest business organization in the Los Angeles region, offering support for item 1, supporting our telecommunications businesses that are raising awareness about wire and metal theft. That is something that is continuously plaguing the city, so I applaud them on their work. Moving on to item 2. The LA Chamber extends its support in the establishment of a metal wire and theft reward program. The Chamber has advocated for the city to prioritize addressing wire and metal theft, as it has been a significant and persistent issue costing the city tremendous amounts of money and damaged infrastructure for utilities and telecommunications, as leading to significant delays in repairs. We support the creation of a trust fund designated to reward individuals who provide information leading to the identification, apprehension, and conviction of those responsible for metal and wire theft from city property. The Chamber also supports an annual report to track fund activity to ensure the money is rewarding citizens for their participation in the program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Thunderbird. You'll have 2 minutes for the item, 1 minute for general.
Yeah, motherfuckers. Regarding these fucking lockers and this fucking trailer, it's not important. I want to see services provided to the benefit of the Los Angeles Police Department for fucking raises, man. There's just too much fucking emergencies happening in this city, and I want the police to get heavily paid like the first black female mayor. But again, item number 7, Mr. Lee. Are you listening, Mr. Lee? I'm trying to get your attention, Mr. Lee, on the jail facilities in which Curran Price will soon be presented before the public. Because after his crisis downtown in that little fake fucking stunt of his, pretending he was suffering from dehydration. No, motherfucker. You was stressing out over the
Can you keep to the
indictment
items
shit.
regarding that are on the agenda,
I'm on
please?
item number 7. It
We'll
says
keep it
here
to item number 7,
CD6,
or
you fucking bitch.
we'll move you to public comment if you don't continue talking about the items.
Oh, you motherfucker. All right. I've lost the best friend that I ever had. It wasn't current price.
Can you move into public comment?
Because he was full of
General comment.
crap. Hold
Okay,
on.
this has nothing to do with the items on
I'm
the
on my non-agenda public comment.
This
You
has
told
nothing
me,
to do.
motherfucker.
This has nothing to do with Public Safety Committee.
I can't even get to my story about this
So
shit.
your time has been forfeited.
We shared the years. What the
This is
police
your first warning. If you
department-
continue interrupting,
What
you'll
the
be
fuck?
that.
How can I forfeit my motherfucking time when I'm talking about a story?
All right, he's continuing to interrupt the meeting. Please, officers, please have him removed from the, pursuant to Rule 7 and 212, can you have him remove them?
What do you mean I got it?
Armando, he just
You
rolled
didn't give
in.
me a warning. I'm not hard. You didn't give me a motherfucking warning.
I gave you a warning.
Next speaker, Navajo Spirit. And last speaker is T. Carter. You'll have 1 minute for general comment.
I signed up for one item and also for public general comment, so that would be 2 minutes, or do I come back up?
2 minutes.
I'm okay. Is there a problem? Oh. I'm here today to address the chair. I've been trying to reach out to your office for a period of time, have not been able to get through. It's in regards to LAPD, where my name is used in a criminal report. I went to go get an apartment. I was later told that I was living with the sheriff deputy and I abused her. Went to court, got it cleared. But what's very alarming is on the actual report, it says by the deputies that they themselves knew who I was and previously arrested me. And the fact, Your Honor, I know you're not an investigative body, but I never met these officers. I'm speaking on general public comment and also the response, the report from the Board of Police Commissions.
Okay, just move him to public comment then. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so just move on to what now?
Go ahead.
To public comment?
Yeah.
Okay, so on to public comment, I would like to leave a copy of the document, and I'm leaving the document to show that the officers are still working for the LAPD, and they wrote in this report in 2019 that they know who I was, and that's why they previously arrested me and used my name in 3 criminal reports, and I don't know the females. The cases were dismissed, but the court told me that due to the verbiage that they wrote, I have to deal with LAPD about that, and their own verbiage wrote that my complaint is unfounded. But their own verbiage also shows my name in the reports, and the court has documents of it. So these officers are still working for LAPD, and every time I ask about it, I get annoying telephone calls by LAPD. They tell me if I speak about it. It's one detective in particular keeps doing this, and I would like to leave the documents to show I'm not crazy. I'm not here to cause interruption, but I would like assistance to know why are these officers still working for LAPD, and in their own verbiage, they did something they should not be doing. And every time I try to address the board or the police commissions, it's always an interruption, like things happening like earlier, and then I can't speak. So I came to deliver this, to leave a copy, to leave with the chair.
If you can give it to the officer, he'll make sure that we get
I
a
have
copy.
3 copies. I don't know if that's enough, but you can make a copy for others. That would be appreciated.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Chair, that concludes public comment.
All right, colleagues, I'd like to recommend that unless there's any objection to items 3 through 5 and number 7 on consent. Any issues with any of those items?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to do a separate vote for item number 5, please.
Just separate vote?
Separate vote, please.
Okay. All right, so item 3, we're going to approve the CAO's recommendation. Item 4, approve the acceptance of the donation. Item 7, note and file the report and instruct the CAO to identify funding to keep the 77th Street and Van Nuys LAPD detention facilities open with adequate staff to maintain service and adoption the CAO's recommendations as amended, and to disregard the recommendations from the September 17th Public Safety Committee. With that, Mr. Clerk, can you please call the vote on items 3, 4, and 7?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Price is absent. Councilmember McCosker is absent. Councilmember Soto Martinez?
Yes.
And Councilmember Park?
Yes.
These items are approved as you stated.
All right, and item number 5, we're moving to approve and to the acceptance of the donation. Can you please call the roll on item number 5?
Yes, Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Price is absent. Councilmember McCosker is absent. Councilmember Soto Martinez?
No.
And Councilmember Park. So because this is a 5-member committee and there's only 2 votes, there's not enough to move forward with this. So this is going to be submitted without recommendation.
I understand. Okay. That brings us to item number 1. If you can read that item into the record, please.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a presentation by the representatives of private telecommunications companies on the impacts of copper wire theft and vandalism on private infrastructure that serves customers in the city of Los Angeles.
All right, colleagues, so this item we brought into committee because we've been having throughout the city more and more telecoms and cables cut throughout, ruining service for our constituents. This is a public safety issue because many people don't have landlines anymore, rely on their Wi-Fi for their cell phone service. So we are going to hear from members of, let's see, I have a list here. We have members of the telecom community. First, we're inviting up Whitney O'Neill, Vice President of Government Affairs for Spectrum. Ms. O'Neill?
Thank you so much, Chair Lee and members of the committee for the opportunity to share today. As the chair noted, Whitney O'Neill, Vice President of Government Affairs for Spectrum, and I want to start with some comments about a real story that took place on Father's Day. On June 15th, in Van Nuys, 13 cables were deliberately cut, severing 2,600 individual fibers. And the result was massive. 360,000 homes and 500 businesses lost service. Critical institutions, a U.S. military base, police, fire, banks, hospitals were all impacted or lost service. This is not just a Spectrum problem. We actually don't even have copper. We are just a victim of a greater trend shared by all telecommunications providers and by the city itself in the Bureau of Street Lighting. But I want to make sure we have a moment to recognize and center the real victims of this, which are your constituents, right? The real folks that face real consequences. Hospitals, nurses, having patient delays, that could be life or death. Students having their online exams interrupted, their progress jeopardized because some guy has wire cutters a couple miles away. It's madness. On Father's Day, a bakery owner lost their entire Father's Day weekend sales. That is revenue they need to pay their staff and suppliers. These are real families that when they pick up the phone and dial 911, they expect a dial tone. It's not about an inconvenience. It is about life or death. It is also not random or isolated, but a part of national trends between June and December. Nearly 6,000 deliberate attacks on telecom infrastructure were recorded. This is nationwide. Unfortunately, California leads the pack by leaps and bounds, and LA is the driver of that surge. Fortunately, this is a Los Angeles problem. Every fiber cut means emergency responders are delayed, families lose income, businesses lose income, families are left in the dark, and critical infrastructure is compromised. It's not petty crime. but this is a tax against critical infrastructure, and it demands a serious, coordinated response. Just really quickly on enforcement and oversight, Spectrum, we offer awards of up to $25,000. We urge more municipalities to offer cash rewards. We applaud the introduction of today's motion, but we have to focus on the points of sale and hold the recycling centers accountable. The City of LA can use its local permitting authority that it has right now to enforce compliance to continue to operate as a recycling center. So it begs the question, if this is existing municipal code, why aren't we enforcing it? And of course, it's an issue of prioritization. We must adequately fund the outreach, training, and enforcement of the points of sale. The City of LA created the Heavy Metals Task Force. It was tremendously successful. Unfortunately, that really critical work has been interrupted because there is no funding to sustain that investigative work. Knowing we're in times of austerity, I would just say we welcome a broader conversation about whether there should be a discussion about restricting copper sales to a limited number of facilities that work hand in hand with local authorities. Fiber cuts are more than vandalism. They put lives at risk. This is an issue of public safety and critical infrastructure. And we thank you, Chair Lee, for your leadership and council members for raising this important issue today.
So, Ms. Get more?
Nope, that's
Oh,
it.
so Ms. Sidney, I was asking you back there, why do you think that there's such an increase? Is it just, you know, it seems like lately in my district specifically, it's happened once and then responded to it. We started talking, having a conversation, and now it seems like it's every other week it gets hit. Why the increase?
You know, unfortunately, and I think the LAPD would be a great resource to answer this question. I would say that we see, you know, these kind of epidemics and we see hotspots, and it's just neighborhood by neighborhood. And unfortunately, we have just seen a tremendous increase in attacks in the Valley, and specifically your district.
Okay, all right. I think we have some other questions, but we're going to hear from the other telecoms and we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
All right, next, Lupita Sanchez Cornejo, Regional Vice President of External Affairs at AT&T and proud CD12 resident.
Yes, resident of Porter Ranch. Thank you, committee chair and council members, for your attention to this critical issue that has an impact on the critical infrastructure for the city of Los Angeles. I want to echo a little bit about what my colleague Whitney from Spectrum shared, is the story that she shared on Father's Day. We all have those shared stories where it impacts your small business owner, your resident, your schools, your hospitals, your military bases. And I was leaning over to my colleague who is part of our global security to answer your question, you know, why the increase? And it's partly because the word is out that you can go take copper, steal it, and people will buy it. And so that's why we've seen the increase. You know, for us, I'd like to start by applauding the City of Los Angeles for introducing this ordinance to establish this tiered reward program. At AT&T, copper theft is not a new thing, but we certainly have seen a spike and an increase in the last few years. We have been working on this issue probably daily with Bureau of Street Lighting, the mayor's office, the council office, offices, LAPD, since probably 2022, 2021. On a consistently basis, because we've seen the spike. And for us, California is one of our top 5 states where we have the highest copper theft incident. And I hate to see that LA ranks #1 for us in California. It's certainly not something that we'd like to see, but it's the highest rate here in the city. It's the cost of selling copper and why there's such a demand for it. The legacy telephone cables have become just a constant threat. And as Spectrum mentioned, they don't have copper, but in the process, sometimes fiber is cut as well. We see it also with others from Crown Castle, is that once they're there, it's either accidental, or what we've also heard is that it's also intentional. The crimes that we're seeing is sometimes in the middle of the day or in the morning, they come in looking like our technicians. They come in with cones, and it looks like it's legitimate work being done. And so enforcement is critical. So far in this year alone, AT&T has experienced more than 1,800 copper theft incidents in the city of LA alone. That is huge when you think about the impact that it has on your residents. There were more than 500 copper thefts last year, and the cost is over $20 million to replace and repair the stolen copper, and that's $20 million a year for just one company. So as we look at these numbers, it has an impact on the network, but I can't stress enough that it's your constituents and everyone from a small residential house, small business, to big institutions. We are at the forefront of really looking at how do we tackle this issue, everything from offering a reward that leads to an arrest, to how do we strengthen our network, our manholes, how do we bring more awareness? You know, if you see something, say something. If you see that something's looking a little suspicious, we have our numbers placed, call the police department. It's important to continue to bring awareness. We applaud your work, but agree with, you know, the issue is those who are buying the stolen copper. There's a lot of awareness that we're doing and that I know the city has done, and they know that they're buying stolen copper. It's not an unknown. And so how do we come on those, whether it's an impact on their license, which I know is a state issue, but an impact on their license as a recycler, or are there land use issues that you can look at? So I appreciate the time, and certainly if there are any questions that you have, my colleague and I are here present to answer those questions, and thank you once again.
All right, we'll next hear from Dr. Erica Jaquez, Executive Director, Government and External Affairs of Verizon. Ms. Jaquez?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Councilmember Lee and members of the Public Safety Committee. My name is Erica Jaquez, and I'm the Executive Director of Government Affairs for Verizon and represent this great city of Los Angeles. I'm here to express our continued support for the City Attorney's motion regarding the reward for the Heavy Metal Task Force. As you're aware, copper wire theft continues to be on the rise and directly impacts the residents' quality of life, and their ability to connect is impacted, making this issue of safety paramount. The issues of strategic fiber optic cuts have occurred across Southern California and directly impacting the city of Los Angeles. The fiber cuts have resulted in communications disruptions, including public safety impacts, significantly disrupting and impacting 911 communications. Event safety and security risks pose a safety security to the high-profile national and international events. So if you're looking at the city of Los Angeles on the world stage, everyone is watching the city of Los Angeles for FIFA. Then you got Super Bowl, and then you've got the Olympics. At what point should something to happen during one of those games, safety and chaos ensues? How can you make sure our constituents are taken care of and we're able to make those calls? The city of Los Angeles alone is directly impacted. In 2024, we had about 64 incidents totaling about $800,000 in cost. To date, we've had 13 costing close to $150,000. On average incidents, it's about an 18-hour plus outage of service. So ultimately, once the cut happens, we're lucky if it's 18 hours, if not a couple of days for our communities to get back online. The site, in one particular site, it's a very high frequent site. We've already spent over $140,000 continuously being repaired, directly impacting 8,000 constituents daily. Due to the vandalism, the city no longer provides commercial power to the LA Convention Center site, increasing monthly maintenance costs, about $20,000 for generators, creating refueling challenges, increasing pollution. Vandalism areas with homeless encampments, it also hinders repairs for VSL. So we understand that this is a complex, multifaceted issue. I'm glad to see all of my colleagues here as we're making the roadshow as well. We are fiercely competitive in the streets, but ultimately understand and come together on the importance of safety and protecting the LA constituents and the community beyond. So again, we are here to support the Heavy Metal Task Force being additionally funded. Again, thank you so much, Councilmember Parks, for your initial investment. And we also support the work of this, the city attorney's proposal to go ahead and create a reward, but ultimately it does come to how can we come together as a public-private opportunity as we're all representing the same, our customers, your constituents, how do we make sure LA is ready to go and is safe for the world stage coming up? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And now, last, we'll hear from Scott Longhurst, Executive Director of External Affairs at Crown Castle. Mr. Longhurst?
Good afternoon, council member, members of the Public Safety Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you this afternoon. I represent Crown Castle. We have a fully fiber network in Los Angeles. However, we are a victim many times of a mistaken opportunity where they'll open a vault thinking it's filled with copper, and they reach in and cut all the fiber. And as you've heard from some of my co-parts here, you know, it's impacted us pretty significantly financially. Just for context, last year in 2024, we had over 1,500 incidents here in the city of Los Angeles, totaling about $7.3 million in damages. So that was roughly, you know, close to $5,000 per incident. And that takes us about 11 and a half hours on average to make those repairs. This year, we've seen a slight decline, and we think that was in part because of the heavy metal task force and the work that they were able to do last year and into this year. We've seen about a reduction of about a third. So we're under 900 incidents through the end of September this year, and it's about $4.9 million in damages. And we're taking about 10 hours to fix those this year. But I did want to touch a little bit on what Erica just mentioned. I think there's a real opportunity to enhance our collaborative relationship that we currently have. As you are aware, we work, you know, with everyone here at the city, from the mayor and the council on down. You know, we have thousands of permits that run through your departments every year. And we were all tied in closely with BSL. In particular, we have pole attachment agreements. And so we attach our small cell facilities to the BSL streetlights. In return, the city gets a revenue stream from that. But we're dependent on the power that's delivered to those streetlights. So while Crown doesn't have copper like some of the legacy carriers do, we do rely on copper to provide electricity to these facilities. So there have been numerous instances where BSL streetlights have been targeted, and not only do they take the streetlights down, but they'll also take the communications facility. So it ends up being a double hit to your constituents. Not only are they using the public safety from the streetlight, but also their communications capabilities by not having those small cells up and running. So I'd like to offer to you all what we've offered in the past to the mayor's office and others, is to allow our workers to do some of the repair work on your network when we're out in the field. And what we're seeing is, unfortunately, sometimes we can get out and make repairs to the small cell, the communications facility, but it may take weeks or months with either DWP or BSL to go out and make repairs to the actual power for the street light. So if we have electricians out there that are doing work on our facility, we'd like to offer those services to the city so that we could hopefully try and repair your street lights and maybe get those back online sooner. And also, obviously, it's mutually beneficial because we would get our communications facilities up as well. So in that spirit of collaboration and cooperation that we've enjoyed, and really we've benefited from, you know, the work that we've done together, we'd like to extend that offer to see if that would be something that we can help the city in the short term address some of these outages. So thank you for your time.
Ms. Longhurst, so what you're saying is that if we were to set up some type of MOU between us and Crown Castle, your employees could repair the entire light? I mean, it's the same power. You would completely repair the entire light?
Yeah, I mean, if we're working on the circuits to provide power to our site and there's damage done to the BSL side, you know, we would be happy to do that work as well.
Okay.
So something to consider.
This is sort of, you know, I've heard people talking about this. Is this something that's actually, are you working with BSL to actually make this MOU?
What we've gone so far is had to have our proposal reviewed, and I'd like to, you know, make note of the fact that the carriers are a party to that. We've all had this conversation with the mayor's office. It's gone to the city attorney's office, and to be completely transparent, for reasons of your collective bargaining agreement with some of the employees, there were restrictions placed on the scope of work that the private sector could actually provide. And unfortunately, the net result of that was that no projects met those parameters. We
Okay.
were not able to provide that service.
Mr. Longhurst, if you don't mind staying there, and we'll invite the other telecom and cable companies to come up and see if my colleagues have any questions. Councilmember Park.
I just want to say thank you to all of you for making the time to be here. This has obviously been a long-standing problem, and you all are victims of these crimes, as well as our communities who rely on the critical infrastructure. So thank you for the presentation and the partnership. This cannot go on. Thieves and vandals are literally stripping our city, picking it apart, and endangering entire swaths of our city. And so, when we are getting reports about people that may be impersonating utility workers, how do we spot? Like, what are we looking for in those scenarios? How do we educate our constituents about these types of issues and how they can get involved and help report it if there is something suspicious or doesn't feel right? What are we looking for?
So you state your name for the record?
So my name is Roddy Salcott. I'm a lead investigator with AT&T. I'll come from the field. I used to be a technician. So there's some ways that your constituents can spot that. With that would be typically all of the carriers, when we're out in the field, we have vests on that have our brand on the back. So that's just one identity right there. Our vehicles, all of our vehicles have decals on them. And there's nothing stopping anybody on the street from coming up and asking us, hey, what are you working on? Can you show me a project number? You call the police on us. If you don't feel that something's going on, call the police, get them out. We'll verify if it's truly us. Another way, if it's in a manhole, typically we have safety setup. So if there's a manhole setup, we'll have this big yellow blower fan basically going into the manhole. We are not allowed to get in that manhole without that blower. The thieves are not using that. So that should be a trigger right there. Hey, there's no blower set up. Something's wrong here. There's also, lastly, all the carriers that go in manholes, there's a cage set up. There's a yellow cage. It goes around the manhole to help protect the public from falling in. That should be set up every time. If you see just some cones around a manhole, that's a no-go. Those are thieves.
Okay, thank you for that. In addition to the wire, which I guess for a lot of you is fiber, not copper, but are there other types of materials that seem to be targeted?
So aside from the copper wire inside of our sheaths, there's also our copper bus bars, which are our ground wires that are at our cell site. So every cell site is grounded. So a lot of times the thieves will go in to cut the copper grounding. They'll end up cutting and knocking down the cell tower as well. And with that, we lose service to that whole area. They're taking as of late, they've been taking our whole manhole lids, cutting them in half and trying to sell them to recyclers. I know we spoke to the bad actor recyclers that are knowingly taking our copper, but there are also what we call rogue recyclers who are on the side of these recycling businesses. Anything that recycler won't take, they're buying them in the street, bulking it up, and selling them across state lines or wherever they can sell it. And they're doing it in open. They have scales out there. You can easily go out there and identify that.
And I assume you're integrated with LAPD and sharing that information. And
as much as I can.
All right. Are your products tagged or etched, or are they identifiable as uniquely belonging to one of your organizations or another?
Yes. So as far as the copper legacy wire, we get it from one vendor. That vendor's name is stamped throughout that whole sheath. So what the thieves tend to do, there's a polyurethane sheath that surrounds the copper wire. They'll cut that sheath off, take the metal wire out, melt it down. And that creates a problem in itself because environmentally that's pouring into the drain and all that.
Yeah.
They'll melt it down to a bolt, but we can still identify that because only telecom copper wire comes inside of that bolt. Once they melt it down, it's still identifiable. But at that point, the recyclers are taking it because they say, hey, we don't know. They do know, and we can easily spot that out.
Okay, good. And I presume that as you have incidents of theft and vandalism, you are in fact reporting those to LAPD as they happen, because that's how we identify hotspots, track and identify where issues are, and then deploy appropriate resources.
Yeah. We make our employees with every theft. Even if we have a theft one night and the next night in the same spot, we report it's a brand new theft, go over and do it again.
Okay. I'm just going to make a plug for undergrounding of comms to resolve some of this as we look at other undergrounding opportunities around the city. But what about hardening the assets? Are there approaches there that we could use that might better protect the materials?
Hey, I can speak for AT&T. We're spending millions on hardening our infrastructure. We are, in our manholes alone, we're bolting, welding, we're putting plates underneath, and some were even concrete. That's not stopping them. They're taking jackhammers, they're taking any tool they can to get in our manhole, to the point where on Central a month ago, there were 4 manholes in the middle of the street that they completely just cut in half and entered the manhole. Now it's a hazard to the people driving down that street. Other hardening efforts, as far as on our poles, we have something called a riser cable. That's cable that comes up from the ground to the aerial section. We're purchasing these metal galvanized pipes, running that up the pole to keep them from cutting that. And then as far as the aerial cable, we're placing trackers, we're placing die packs, we're placing these metal things that are supposed to be uncuttable, but they're getting the tools, whether they're stealing it from Home Depot, they're finding out how to get around it.
It really is an unfair ask for you all to have to make those kinds of investments, and it is incredibly frustrating how industrious folks can be when it comes to the thieving and stealing. I will tell you, I have RVs parked over manhole covers that have been tampered with, and there are literally people coming and going out of them. It's bonkers. They are stealing fire department connectors out of sky rises in downtown. They are chopping down fire hydrants to get at metals and wires. And so my frustration level with all of this, for obvious reasons, is through the roof. So we really appreciate the intel, the thoughts, and the collaboration as we look at ways, in addition to enforcement, because, you know, we've done this with the Heavy Metal Task Force. Glad to see that it has helped. Clearly hasn't been enough, but really appreciate the collaboration as we continue to look at ways to solve this. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, for your leadership on that. We've actually took Commissioner Cardenas out to one of our hardest hit sites. It's us, it's T-Mo, and it's AT&T. They break through the walls. There are holes. And we also hear from residents, you guys were just here yesterday. So we know we're being watched. Our vans are being watched. So it's a really coordinated effort. We've also reached out to DA Hochman as well. And we want to figure out how we can work together, because ultimately when it's reported to LAPD, there's so many safety issues being addressed. So to have our issue addressed, it might not get there as quickly. So ultimately apprehending and securing the issue. So that's, we're trying to figure out what's the best way we can collaborate with city, county. We're looking to you for your leadership, and we're also here to help support.
Well, the task force, obviously, with the multidisciplinary tools and resources across from it, are one of the most effective. And then you have the continuity and the throughput over to the DA's office. So obviously, I'm a big supporter of that. But it seems like we have a long way to go. Thank you for the input and the time.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Park.
Yeah, I have some questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. First of all, I appreciate you all coming here to give your sort of perspective on this issue. And, you know, I want to say, I think everyone on this table, and I think everyone in council agrees that this is an issue. We hear about it all the time. And this is a perspective I hadn't heard before, because our city is not, well, we do a little bit of fiber optic, but not as much as obviously the private sector. So hearing this perspective has been enlightening. So I think everyone agrees that it's an issue. I think where we might oftentimes have disagreement is like, well, what's the best policy to solve the issue, right? And I think I heard some comments that like this is not new to your industry. This has been going on for forever, sounds like, right? So why do you think there's been like from your sort of from the private research that you've done? Because I do think there's a lot to learn from the private industry. What's the cause of the uptick in the theft?
Recyclers. No compliance checks being done at the recyclers. We've seen in Northern California where we've started to be able to partner with law enforcement to do compliance check on recyclers. That's pretty much cut our copper theft in half up there. So if they have nobody to sell to, it stops.
So if you were a policymaker, you would say, go after the recycling plants.
Not more of a punitive thing, but just do the.
I don't believe in the.
Do the compliance checks. Go on site, see if they're taking stolen material. If they are, hold them accountable to that point. Yeah. But that's really what it is. It's going after that portion. If we stop that, They have
There's
nowhere
no way
to
to
go.
get the money.
Most of the people stealing it is opportunistic.
Yeah.
They're going within a square mile, half a square mile of where they steal it to a recycle. So most time, if I see something stolen, I can go to a recycler down the street and find
Mhm.
that cable right there. It's been stolen.
Have you looked at like what percentages? Because I do believe there's an element of organized crime. People
For
are
sure.
taking it across, but that's not the majority, right? Most is the smash and grab, and So have you done research on how many of them do just go within a quarter mile of where the theft was at?
I don't have an
Yeah, I'm
actual
just
number for you,
curious.
but majority of them is that
Uh-huh.
it's they're going now. We have found cases to where the other night I'm investigating one that happened, and the individuals drove from Glendale and offloaded in South Central. That happens, but it's just not the usual.
Yeah, it's usually within a quarter mile of where the theft happens. That's really interesting. And some policies have happened in Northern California that have been successful. But have you looked? And so I'm going to go a little bit on the hardening, because I'm a big fan of doing that for our city's streetlights. And I get it. People will sometimes have jackhammers. People like that's a very small percentage. I know it's very sensationalist.
I'm be honest, it's not a small.
It's not. You think
so,
you think it's more obvious?
It's all of them. So I can take you to multiple sites. We can tour it. Where encampments have brand new tools because they're doing retail theft. They're going in, stealing it from Home Depot, Harbor Freight. They have better tools than we have, and they're breaking into all of our stuff.
That's interesting.
It's not. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. And
No, I'll just note that I agree with you. And out of necessity, all of our companies have gotten incredibly creative with hardening, and I know BSL has as well. But at the end of the day, it gets circumvented, and we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of facility and plant, which we also need to be able to get access to at times of emergency. And we're unfortunately not able to create we have tons of redundancy and resiliency, and we simply cannot just harden our way out of it, unfortunately.
You want to say something to?
Something was brought up earlier about the sites that are out of service. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there are over 100 LAUSD schools that are out of service that have no phone line that they can call out in case of emergency, school shootings, stuff like that. There's no way that their fire alarms work for their elevators. And we do the work. We go overnight to get it back in service. It's going down the next day. We can't keep them in service to the point to where LAUSD has agreed to move some of their schools over to fiber, but some areas they can't.
Right.
They can't. So it's it affects that.
Yeah. And someone here mentioned a $25,000 reward program. I don't know who mentioned that, but do you want to speak to that? Has it been successful?
We have a $25,000 reward system for any information that leads to an arrest. We believe in carrots and sticks and incentives. There is nothing that impedes Recycling Center also from taking advantage of that award, by the way. We really have to address the point system.
But I'm asking, like, has it been successful to do a $25,000 reward?
We're getting the word out, and we need continued partnership with the LAPD and the Heavy Metals Task Force.
You want to go to so the public can hear you. It's if you can speak.
So we have a reward too, and we've had a lot of tips, and they have been extremely successful. The problem is the people aren't getting prosecuted. They're getting kicked, and so they get arrested. And with our reward, they have to get prosecuted. So that's not happening. So we're not able to pay out. But we're getting great tips from the community.
Lots of tips, but it doesn't lead to a prosecution.
Yeah. And that's due to whether it's lack of education on patrol officers. They're not charging them with the right things and things like that. But that's where we come in as far as that. We'll do our part. Yeah.
Got it. What's your name again?
Radis Halka.
Thank you so much. Well, so this was very enlightening to have folks. I was very supportive of the report because I wanted to understand a little bit more. And we have here examples of a $25,000 reward and not really solving the issue. I think we need to solve the issue. And I think the gentleman has given us sort of a thing to look into as a council that has been successful in Northern California. So, and I think, and I start off by saying this, that a lot of us agree, all of us agree that this is an issue. It's like, how do we solve it? And I think you've given us sort of a path to follow that has done some success. But I don't think this one is a path to continue to follow. We have examples of the private industry doing $25,000 rewards, and it's not helping. And we're just going to do 5,000 and 1,000. I just don't see how that is good policy from my perspective. But I truly, truly appreciate the testimony. I feel like I learned a ton. And again, there's a lot to learn from the private industry because we got to be partners on this with the city, right? We depend on each other. It's very interconnected. And it's just horrible that, companies are spending, millions and billions of dollars in this issue where they could be expanding, fiber optics to working class communities or putting Wi-Fi in parks or, like a digital divide with seniors. I can go on and on. But anyway, I just want to thank you for coming here and speaking on this item.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. So before you all sit down, I just want to make clear, I know how AT&T feels, but for Crown Castle, Verizon, and Spectrum, you can just nod your head. Do you believe that the most of the incidents that are happening to your companies are not one-offs and that it is actually an organized unit, organized crime proceedings? Okay, you're all shaking your heads yes. I will take that as yes unless I was wrong with any of them. So thank you very much for joining us. Your idea of, we're going to look into sort of, we do regulate the recycling. So, if we have the legal ability to limit the number one so that we're not going around the city doing this, if we can prove that by one incident of one of our employees trying to, take copper somewhere and then it, with, no identification being taken, anything, being a reason to lose their ability to sell copper or to recycle copper, I think that's a great idea. And the MOU is something that if you can work with our staff, let us know who you're working with at street lighting so we can try to make sure that if that's something that has the ability done, and you're willing to do the work for us. In my mind, having lights down is a public safety issue. So it's something that is very important to me and I know to others on this body and the full council. So thank you very much for joining us. Colleagues, as this was, yes, yeah, go ahead, Lupita.
That I wanted to mention, at AT&T, we're looking at this at all levels. So of course, the local level, state level, and federal level. And so you all may have heard that California Attorney General Ron Bonta had 2 different roundtables, one in Southern California, and it was a great success, and then had a second one in Northern California. And it was an opportunity to bring together the industry, everyone impacted by this. In LA, he had LAPD, Sheriff Luna, law enforcement from Riverside, the DA joined, LA City Attorney Felton Soto joined, to ensure that everyone is at the table and understanding what an impact it has in the whole state. And so I wanted to mention that effort is going on as well at the same time, and then also engaging with the federal level to strengthen those laws.
Okay. Thank you for that. As colleagues, as this was just a verbal presentation, no action, I don't believe any action is needed, correct, Mr. Clerk? All right, so thank you all for sharing the impacts of fiber vandalism and copper wire theft, for your respective companies. We know it's an issue here in the city of Los Angeles, and we know it's affecting your companies as well, so we appreciate you being here for that verbal presentation. Okay, we do not need to take a vote, right, Mr. Cook?
Correct.
Okay, all right, let's move on to the next item.
So the next item is item number 2, which is a report from the city attorney and a draft ordinance relative to adding the Los Angeles to the administrative code to create the metal and wire theft reward program.
All right, I believe we have Cassandra Lowe from the city attorney's office here. If you can give us a brief overview of the ordinance and, obviously take any questions from the committee.
Sure. So this is an ordinance that we prepared.
Can you point the mic directly? Yeah.
Sorry. How's that?
Yeah, get better.
Okay. This is an ordinance that we prepared to establish a tiered reward offer program for crimes involving the theft of city plaques, tombstones, statues, light standards, and copper wire linked to the 6th Street Bridge. There is a reward of $5,000 for grand theft and $1,000 for a theft, a misdemeanor. This reward does require a conviction or final adjudication in juvenile court. The the and the fund is to be administered by the city clerk and established in the city treasury.
Okay. Colleagues, are there any questions for Ms. Lowe? Councilor Martinez? All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. With that, I'd like to make a recommendation. If we can amend section 19.129.20, number 1, to just remove the words linked to the 6th Street Bridge, because we are making this a more around the city issue. If we can remove that, and in number 2, adopt the draft ordinance as amended. Is that clear, Ms. Clerk?
Yes.
All right. If you can call the roll for the vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Price and Councilmember Gosker are absent. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
No.
And Councilmember Park. Yes. So this item is also submitted without recommendation.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anything else on the agenda?
Yes, we still have item number 6, I believe.
Item number 6. Okay. If you can call that. Well, okay, I apologize. Okay, if you can call that item into the record.
Sure. Item number 6 is a report from the Board of Police Commissioners relative to the 4th Annual California Assembly Bill 481 Annual Equipment Report.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sorry, Council members. You can see where I have presented this first. So I am Captain Shannon White. I'm from the Strategic Planning and Policies Division at the Los Angeles Police Department, and I'm here today to speak to you about our annual AB 481 report. This is the 4th year that we've submitted the report to the Commission, and it was approved. The summary of the report includes the qualifying military equipment that need to be reported on annually, their purpose, their usage summary, authorized uses, training requirements, the laws governing their use, inventory, related costs, and the related complaints. That was presented to the Board of Police Commissioners on September 9th and was accepted and then transmitted here. And what we are coming here today to discuss is ordinance number 18763. It's an annual renewal that is required as part of AB 481. And the request is that this body advance the ordinance to the full council for its renewal. And we're here and available for you, myself and Deputy City Attorney Jonathan Bislig, for any questions that you may have for us.
All right. Thank you, Captain. Councilor Martinez, I believe you had some questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for being here. I just have a few questions. This item has come up a bit before, and first of all, I appreciate there being more information in there. I think previous years we asked for more, so I want to say I do appreciate that. In looking into the AB 481, it was really about having more transparency with the public, and part of the transparency was to, and I'll just read what the statute says. It's within 30 days of submitting and publicly releasing an annual military equipment report, law enforcement agency should hold at least one well-publicized and conveniently located community engagement meeting at which the general public may discuss and ask questions regarding the annual military equipment report. Now, my understanding is that the department considers this meeting as the required public hearing on the report. Is that correct?
Good afternoon, Jonathan Bislig with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. It's my pleasure to be here. So with regard to your question, Council Member, we believe it's the Board of Police Commissioners meeting, which is a Brown Act body meeting that satisfies the provision that you are referencing. Government Code 7072, I believe it's subsection B, but I'll have to double check on that. So the requirement is a community engagement meeting. the Brown Act is actually the gold standard for public participation. Uh, the AB 481 report is appropriately agendized, provided advance notice for the meeting, and the members of the public are afforded an opportunity to be heard, raise any issues through public comment. The civilian body of the Board of Police Commissioners also has an opportunity to raise any issues or concerns, and the department is also present there to address those concerns as well as respond to any other questions. So we believe that the Brown Act body of the Board of Police Commissioners does satisfy the community engagement requirement under AB 481.
And part of the statute says that at least one well publicized. What kind of outreach was done so that people could know about this meeting?
So as you know, all public Brown Act meetings must be publicly agendized. As for a regular meeting, it requires at least 72 hours notice. For purposes of this, for this publication, that report was released and published to the community on September, I believe it was September 5th. I think it was a Friday. That meeting was held the following Tuesday.
Right, so what outreach was done?
So I think one of the important things when we talk about our commission meetings is that it has an extensive mailing list of community members who receive regular notice about all of the meetings. As you can see that similar to here, there was a public comment about the meetings. We received a similar one at commission of, will there be a public meeting? There is an awareness that is there. We have not received other questions about the actual report itself. We do continue to post the report on its own dedicated AB 481 page for LAPD Online so that people can continue to ask questions at any given time. We've not yet received any questions germane to the contents of the report itself.
Sure, okay. And then it also sounds like the intent of the law is that the public have an interactive conversation regarding the policy. At what point during this meeting was there ability for the public to discuss and ask questions of the department? Or why is it viewed that a Brown Act body, which we don't we have public comment every single day, we do not interact with people. We listen to their public comment, but there isn't an ability for a discussion or for them to ask questions.
I think that's a good question, council member. So the intent of the law, and it's important to make sure that we are not governing form over substance. The intent of the law is ultimately transparency, to assure that the public knows and understands the requirements that must be published under AB 481. Now, it's because the legislature and as well as statutory interpretation, if there is no definition of a community engagement meeting, they do not interpret form over substance. And so the fact that, again, the Brown Act meetings are the gold standard for public participation, it defeats the purpose, or it wouldn't make sense to reinvent the wheel just to have what we probably conceive as a personal, direct discussion. At the end of the day, the public meeting provides an exchange of ideas. It allows the public to raise concerns, and it does so within a forum that facilitates an orderly fashion of participation, as well as to maintain decorum. The expectation that there needs to be some side of informal discussion, personally one-on-one with individual members of the public, while that could be an interpretation, but as this committee knows, it would be inefficient to do so. There has to be rules in place, and there isn't anything under AB 481 that forbids or prohibits rules regulating participation.
When obviously there was some research that was done from the city attorney's office. Did you look at other forms of meetings that the city participates in? Because we do town halls all the time, and those are interactive. There's discussions, small groups. When we're doing budget town halls, I mean, there are so many ways in which local officials engage with the public that is not. And to me, actually, I think if you were to ask me what the gold standard is, I think those meetings are much more transparent. We're not behind the ropes. People are checking in. We do community outreach. It allows for an exchange of ideas and concerns. Like, did you look at any other formats type of meetings that we do here at the city? Why did you decide on a Brown acted meeting?
Well, it's not necessarily that the city attorney's office decided that a Brown Act meeting would suffice the community engagement meeting. Our ultimate function is to determine whether or not the report, the policy, and the conduct is in compliance with AB 481. And so it's our opinion that we believe that a Brown Act body, the Board of Police Commissioners meeting, does satisfy that. In addition, this Public Safety Committee meeting also satisfies that. So the public actually has two opportunities to be heard, raise their questions and issues. Now, I completely appreciate your other recommendations of maybe more direct interaction with the community. That can be something that the department can consider, but that's not necessarily a legal requirement or a legal mandate. It's just one other way to satisfy that requirement.
Well, I actually disagree. I believe that it is a legal mandate. It says a well-publicized, conveniently located, and they may discuss and ask questions. It's pretty black and white to me. I'm not a lawyer, but you know,
sure,
that seems pretty clear to me. And I don't have any others. But I do want to like just press upon the city that if anybody were to read this in my district, I don't think they would agree that a Brown acted Board of Police Commissioner meeting or this meeting would fit the description of it. So, I'll have some internal conversations on my staff, but I don't believe that we are following the law. I just simply disagree.
I can appreciate the council member's position, but a Brown Act meeting, whether it be this committee or the Board of Police Commissioners, is a well-publicized meeting that is at a convenient location. It is at the.
This is downtown LA. We have people that live as far as Porter Ranch and as far as San Pedro. Working class communities work from 9 to 5. Transportation issues, you name it. I don't know. Your definition of convenient is very different than mine because when I want to get information to the public and my constituents, I do it at areas that I know are close to public transportation. We do flyering, we do door knocking, we do all kinds of things to make sure that it is well publicized, not the bare minimum. You're describing the bare minimum. We go above and beyond to be completely transparent with the public. So,
I mean, I would say that the Board of Police Commissioners meeting isn't just personal attendance. It is not just allowed. You can be heard via remotely via Zoom. So people are able to be heard, raise their issues or concerns remotely without attending, without coming downtown.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your perspective.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Apologize. I have a couple questions. And by the way, I represent Porter Ranch, and they elected me, and we're fine with this. So just to let you know, though. What would be the case if we did not? Tell this committee, if we were not able to pass, if this were not to pass, what would be eliminated for LAPD's use?
So military equipment under AB 481 is essentially a legal term of art that isn't necessarily limited to what we would maybe the public naturally perceive as military equipment acquired by the U.S. military. It actually includes other devices and munitions, including less lethal munitions and devices, which I would assume that the city would encourage the department to use to the extent it's reasonably possible. If this report is not approved, if the ordinance is not renewed, I think presumably by the winter recess, that would jeopardize the department's ability to use such munitions and devices at the next calendar year. So we believe time is of the essence, and it's absolutely essential that this the ordinance be renewed. And to clarify the point, the Board of Police Commissioners, as the appointed body who directly oversees the police department, they have already reviewed, vetted, and approved the report.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. When you say military, your mind goes to a lot of different things, but we're talking about communications trucks, less lethal force. So just to be clear, if this were not to pass in time, LAPD would be restricted from using less lethal, and every officer's only thing in a time of any type of situation would be to turn to their more lethal sidearm.
Yes, Councilmember, so that is correct. I also want to stress that many of the much of the equipment that's used by our SWAT officers also falls under this. So when we talk about being responsive to truly emergent needs that can't be addressed in any other way, we'd restrict their ability to do that. And then when we also look at our response to overall natural disasters, all of those command posts that you saw out in the Palisades for months, those fall under this. Anytime you see one of what we call our bread trucks, our smaller command posts at community events, those fall under this report. The sheer volume of things that would be restricted would predominantly reduce us to being in black and whites with just our sidearms that were issued. And so it really would severely restrict our ability to be responsive to community needs as well as true emergencies.
Okay, thank you. And as far as Brown Act meetings, you have the commission, you have this, you have the full council. Mr. Clerk, I believe the mail list for our agendas for the city council meeting goes to thousands of residents here in the city of Los Angeles?
I do not know the exact number, but I know it's a lot. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I believe that we are adhering to the rules set by the state for this and trying to make sure that we give our citizens the ability to communicate with us and ask questions. And so with that, any other questions? No? Seeing no questions, Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Price and Councilmember McOsker are absent. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
And Councilmember Park. Yes. So this item is approved.
All right. Thank you. Now, is there anything left on the agenda?
The desk is clear.
All right. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.